Welcome to Game Design Talks. In this video, and others in the series, I wish to talk about game design concepts and explore how they have been done properly in the past, as well as what to learn for future implementations. Today, I would like to talk about how a game can make you feel that immersive feeling of adventure and what it takes to achieve that. As an example, I shall use World of Warcraft, specifically the vanilla version. Contrasting its modern counterpart, we can look at what the previous version did well to achieve this feeling that a lot of people called magical. First off, I would like to talk about something that each version of the game does that is a strength to its design and how it fits to the experience it desires to propagate. Modern WoW, with its class design and focus on instanced content, as well as streamlined leveling, allows more people to enter a state of flow by doing their rotations and engaging in the high-speed content, as well as having a predictable avenue of getting their much-desired rewards. Classic WoW had a design that was more designed towards offering every aspect of the game flavor. Classes had classic RPG styles, spells, and abilities in order to interact with the world. Quests weren't really streamlined, and certain quests could either be insanely hard or free, as well as the rewards received for doing them. World PvP, even though maybe not everyone liked it, made it so being a member of a faction out in the world made you feel something towards members of the enemy faction or even allies. This way of designing content makes it so the game provides a better sense of adventure, letting players experience more unique types of content and feel a personal interaction with them. It is important to understand also the state of the game when the design was implemented and how it had its effects. Vanilla was mostly played by people who didn't look up anything about the content they were going into, so they had no expectations. Also, a lot of the people were not familiar with the mechanics of an MMO, a lot of people coming from the RTS series that Blizzard previously did. The game this way became more of a learning experience for them and a journey of discovery and wonder. People would put in effort to progress and get more power and knowledge, rewarding the grindy tasks they were given and the higher difficulty of the original leveling process. It is also important that the game was new and the player felt like the content they were progressing wasn't being wiped as all of the future content updates for the game would do, making their progression mean more to them. Compared to further expansions, the role of the player was not that central, story-wise, in the experience itself. We are put in the time after the events of Warcraft 3, and the stakes are not that high to begin with. Even though conflicts exist, there is no massive world-ending pressure, and makes the events seem spectacular. The player this way takes the role that is not a unique set-in-stone type of role, and can progress naturally with their world discovery. The story this way makes it so it revolves around the player, where they have to find their way in the world and get to know it, while still being an observer and student of a rich and diverse world. Zones were designed differently in vanilla. All zones were designed to have a feel specific to their desired theme. You can see the difference in how people will describe the zones from the two versions of the game. If you ask someone about one of the new zones added to the game, they will describe either the quests they did, the art of the zone, the music, or the sounds. If you bring back a zone from the original version, most people will share the stories the zone put them through. Some people would say Stranglethorn Vale is a literal war zone. The Barrens had enough content for all the 60 levels. Arathi Highlands was a dinosaur and spider-infected walking simulator. The zones were designed, with their good and bad parts, to put the player through an adventure with which they would have to figure out how to deal with it. Which quests do I do first? What route do I take? What zones are more hot for PvP? The story this way was built individually by each player and built a better connection with the content they were going through, making it a personal experience more than anything. Exploration as part of the adventure of the game is a concept more appropriate for the older version. Whatever new zone you were going into during the modern version of the game, you already have some expectations of how the hubs will look like, the entry of the zone, the routes, and the potential zones that are specifically designed to be side zones. In vanilla, exploration itself was an activity. You had to run to certain unexplored zones to look for new content and find a way how to progress. Your process this way became an adventure, figuring out how to get where you were going or finding out where you were even going. A reward for the player was flying and, later down the line, ground mounts, which gave an increasing amount of feel of power to the player that rewarded the grindy journey they had. Encounters are also a part of the experience of the adventure. Whether they're the monsters you have to kill for a quest or have to interact with to get the items you need or pass the zone, the mobs were designed with flavor in mind. Monsters were tuned, given how low power the player was, to have flavorful abilities and positioning to threaten the player. Quests also made it so that you had to get specific monsters in an area, not just a general elimination. For example, you had to kill 8 slayers of a certain tribe, but the monsters were slayers, warriors, mages, scavengers, etc. This made it so the quest you were doing felt specific, with that task you were doing besides it just being a mob grinding activity, and the position and spawn rates of the monsters made it feel unique. Zones also had patrols of high-level elites that gave you something to look forward to, thinking about the day you get strong enough to defeat them. The player's actions this way become meaningful, consequential, and rewarding, them being small personal steps in their greater journey. Flavor was also integrated into your interactions with other players. Buffs, even though they remained until the modern version for balance purposes, had the purpose of making you feel like someone else was contributing to your power. The power of multiple people was significant, elite quests being tuned around really high HP and damage numbers for the monsters, so the player had to come up with a solution on how to deal with them, the solution being fighting other people. The physical process of putting together a group, or being inside a city, made you see other people, how they looked like, how they acted, and so forth. This way, the simple social interaction of the player, similar to their combat or RPG interactions, can become unique to the player and create meaningful relationships or antagonistic ones that can last their entire journey. So what can we take from all of this? If you design a game and try to build a feel of adventure, you have to make specific choices when designing the world, ability of the player, and limitations. Every dimension of the game has to be designed around flavorful mechanics that allow the player to make what they are doing the journey tailored to themselves. The game this way has to make every single minute interaction have an impact on what the player does and give them the opportunity to interact with what is put in front of them. It is also important to understand the context you are designing all of this, the amount of information the player has, the expectations, and the amount of dedication the player can offer. Following these guidelines can help you achieve that better feeling of adventure, helping the player tailor the self-discovering journey they never knew existed. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like or a comment. I'll be making more of those in the future, so subscribe if you want to be notified when I make a new one. See you next time.